How to make fried tofu. From soy milk to fried tofu. Delicious Tofu Research Laboratory. Making the dough.油揚げ, also known as thin-age, is made by slicing firm tofu into thin slices, pressing and drying it to create a dough. Tofu for油揚げis made in the same process as firm tofu. A coagulant is added to the soy milk so that it can be shaped into tofu. The most well-known coagulant for making tofu is nagari. Crude seawater. It is also called magnesium chloride, but it is not actually used much in commercially available tofu. The cost is high. Coagulants are used in combination with one another depending on the type of tofu, its purpose and personal preference, but they are essential in tofu production as they determine the taste and texture. When a coagulant is added to soy milk, it begins to coagulate. As the tofu components and water are separated, the concentration is adjusted to suit the tofu to be fried, and then it is prepared for molding. The method for making油揚げtofu is basically the same as for momen tofu. If you pour the separated water onto the cotton fabric of the mold, the tofu will be easier to peel off from the cotton after molding. The dough is made using the same method as momen tofu, where soy milk with added coagulant is poured into a mold and the water is squeezed out. The key points here are the concentration and temperature of the soy milk when molding, and how much moisture is removed when finished. Now it's time to pour the solidified soy milk into the mold. The amount of soy milk poured in is adjusted in advance so that it fits the mold. The soy milk is placed into a mold lined with cotton cloth, covered with the cloth, and then pressure is applied to remove the moisture. In the past, pressure was applied to the formwork using weights such as stones, but now the mainstream method is to apply pressure using a compressor. As the water is removed during the process, lay the cotton cloth back on top and make the surface of the tofu smooth. Apply pressure again to remove moisture, and repeat this process until you have the desired amount of fried tofu you want to make. Draining is a gradual process that takes time. Average's firm tofu is compressed in a mold until it is about half its original size. Before cooling Average's firm tofu in a water bath, cut off and remove any unnecessary parts. This is an extra step to prevent the油揚げfrom losing its shape and to create a beautiful rectangular shape. Once the tofu has been roughly shaped, it is transferred to a tank of water and cooled in cold water. The next step is to cut it to the size required for making products, but it cannot be cut neatly unless the tofu itself is cold. Once the tofu has cooled, cut it into large pieces. To cut the tofu into consistent sizes and more efficiently, we now cut it using a thin fishing line threaded through the mold. Previously we used a tofu knife. There is no need to bend forward for long periods of time, reducing back pain. Next, the油揚げtofu dough is cut and cooled in cold water. Here too, the tofu dough is cut with thin fishing line. As much as possible, tofu dough made in the same mold is kept in the same state for a short period of time. This is to ensure that the taste and finish are consistent. Maybe. The油揚げdough is arranged neatly in a water tank and cold water is poured over it. This is to make the dough evenly warm and firm. The cooled油揚げdough needs to be drained before frying. A bamboo blind is hung over the board and the tofu dough is laid out on it. It's a tedious and time-consuming task. Make roughly 3 layers of tofu dough in bamboo blinds. The油揚げfabric and a layer of bamboo blinds are sandwiched between boards and pressure is applied from above to remove the moisture. Here, iron blocks cut from train tracks are used as weights. Now we come to the frying process. There are two types of deep frying oil pots. It is finished using a low temperature pot and a high temperature pot. The dehydrated油揚げdough is placed in a low temperature pot and the entire dough is deep fried in oil. The low temperature pot is on the left and the high temperature pot is on the right. When the油揚げdough is added to the oil, the entire dough expands. The dough expands when it is deep fried in the low temperature pot, and then expands again after it is transferred to the high temperature pot. The finished product will be about 3 times the size of the original. However, when it is removed from the pot, it shrinks to about 2/3 of its size. Frying in 2 stages, first in a low temperature pot and then a high temperature pot, results in a crispy exterior and a spongy tofu interior. This product is completely different from commercially available油揚げand is very delicious. It is a privilege for the manufacturer to be able to experience this. The油揚げis completed after frying in a low temperature pot and then in a high temperature pot. After this, the products are packaged so that they can be put on display in stores, but I wasn't able to take a video of this. Sorry. Delicious Tofu Research Laboratory.